Let's take a look at how we can use Camera Raw in order to fine-tune, modify, and change the colors in our photographs. In order to do that, we'll be working with two photographs, starting off with this first picture, which is this 25-foot tall sculpture. And I've just photographed a little corner of it, but it works well for talking about color. And let's go to the Filter pull-down menu and then choose Camera Raw as a filter. This will launch the image up here in Camera Raw. When you're in Camera Raw, just make sure you're clicking on this icon so that you're viewing this in full screen mode. Next, we're going to go over to the area where we have what are called our HSL grayscale controls. Now, you want to make sure that grayscale is not checked. That will disable all of our color controls, so we want to uncheck that. And here we have tabs for controls for hue, saturation, and luminance. Let's walk through each of these, starting off with saturation because that's the easiest one to see and to understand. Well, saturation has to do with color intensity. You can see that as I drag these sliders down, what I'm doing is I'm removing color from the image so that now I only have one color left. I can increase or decrease any of these colors. Let's say we want to bring back the yellows. Well, I can do that. How about the oranges and reds? You can see here how we can control the color intensity of the different colors that we have in this photograph. Now, if ever you need to reset a slider, you can just double-click the slider, and that will go back to the default setting of 0. If you want to reset everything, click the default button here, and it resets it all back to normal. All right, let's next move over to the tab for hue. What is hue? Well, this is all about shifting or pivoting or swinging the color one way or another. With our reds, these can become more magenta, or they can become more orange. The oranges, well, they can become more red or more yellow, and so on and so forth. You can see how we can swing these colors in order to change the color characteristics that we have in the photograph. And sometimes this can be a nice way to kind of subtly shift or tweak color. Other times, perhaps what you want to do is create a unique color effect, kind of like we have here. Let's go ahead and click the default to dig a little bit deeper into what's actually happening. Now, the way that I think of this is if we're working with our oranges, for example, those can become more red, which is a color above, or they can become more yellow, which is the color below. So essentially, we're just nudging these one way or another. We can't make our oranges blue or our blues orange. That just wouldn't work. But we can take the blues and make them a little more aqua or a little bit more purple. So you can see how I can make the blue sky in the background a bit more purple, or I can make it a little bit more aqua or cyan. All right, that is hue. Hue is all about shifting or changing color. The last tab we have here is luminance. Let's click on that one. Luminance is all about brightness. Here we can brighten or darken any of these colors. Now, when you brighten or darken a color, it will, of course, change its color, right? If we brighten reds, well, red looks a little bit more like a soft pink. If we darken it, it becomes a deeper or richer red. And the same thing is true with our oranges, yellows, and you can see how that's going to affect the color intensity. It's not just brightness, but it's primarily focusing in on the bright value of that area. Okay, again, we'll click default to reset those values. Well, now that we know how these sliders work, let's apply this to a real project. So here I'll click cancel. Go to the next image that I have opened. This is a photograph of a friend, Maria, wearing this Shakespearean dress in front of this old door in downtown Los Angeles. With this image, I'll go to the Filter pull-down menu and choose Camera Raw. This will launch the Camera Raw filter, and then I'm going to zoom in on the image so that we can focus in on the colors that we have here a little bit better. Let's jump over to the tab for the controls for HSL. Let's start off with saturation. Now, with the saturation, what I want to do is I want to bring out the reds in the dress. I also want to bring out the blues back here in the door. So I'm going straight to the colors I know that I want to work on. Reds, I'm bringing those up, and you can see how I can change the reds. Now, reds and oranges are often connected, so you may want to see, do I need to change my oranges? I'm actually going to bring those down a little bit. That's going to make the skin tone look just a little bit more porcelain, and I'll bring the yellows down as well. And next, let's go to the blues. With the blues, I want to crank those up, and I want to bring in more blue to that area. Now, if we want to make any other changes, let's say we want the blue to be brighter or darker. We go to the tab for luminance, because remember, this is the tab where we can control the darkness or the brightness of a certain color. Let's say we want it just a little nudge darker. We can make that change there. If we want to shift the colors, we go to the hue tab. In the Hue tab, we can make those blues perhaps appear a little bit more aqua or green or whatnot, or we can make them a little more purple. In my case, I think they look fine just as is, so I'm not going to do that. And whenever you make changes like this, you do want to go back to where you were before and just say, hey, have I gone too far? Are any of these adjustments, do I need to modify them a little bit? And it looks like I just need to slide them around just a touch. The reason why you want to do that is because it's so easy to get carried away with color, because color is so much fun, right? All right, well, I think that looks good. Press the P key, that gives us the before, press it again, and then that gives us the after. You can see how we use these controls to make some color improvements to the photograph.